Streaming live via the internet, welcome to ISP Radio, your weekly source for ISP-related news, events, and interviews with industry experts. If you deliver internet via fiber optic, wireless, coax, or any other way, you're in the right place. Chat live with us weekly via ispradio.com every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And now a brief word from our sponsors. Link Technologies, providing ISP consulting, support, and hardware for wireless ISPs. TowerCoverage.com, providing online RF coverage maps. And now your host for ISP Radio, Steve Grabiel and Dennis Burgess.
Welcome to another edition of ISP Radio. I'm your host, Steve Grabiel, broadcasting from Moriarty, New Mexico, and Dennis Burgess is producing the show and broadcasting from St. Louis, Missouri. Not much going on over here. Had a nice day yesterday. Helped my another ISP in Albuquerque try to repoint a 24 gig link. That was a failure, so we had to abandon that before the torrential rain came down. It looked like Houston and Albuquerque yesterday afternoon. Other than that, it's nice today, but we get those clouds coming up in the afternoon that can really dump kind of flash flood stuff. But nothing like Houston, but it seemed like it to me on my way home. Dennis, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, you know, we're definitely keeping busy as always. New products, new services, all that kind of good stuff. You know, we do have WISP-A-Palooza coming up. That's October 9th through the 13th. That is an entire week-long event. If you have not registered, they still have rooms available at the Rio. I believe the rooms are going for $99. Easy to go. The exhibit hall, I'm pretty sure, is completely sold out, so it is going to be an excellent show, just like always. We definitely have lots and lots of great sessions. We have sessions. I actually have a session on IPv6. It's actually one of the mastermind sessions. I actually probably should start on that PowerPoint. But yeah, I mean, we definitely have lots and lots of stuff going on. You know, my team's always busy, of course, but other than that, not really a whole lot. We've had no rain. You know, we got Houston has had all the rain. It's the storm front's actually going to push up towards St. Louis, but it's going to go just south and it's going to go east. So I doubt the current forecast is maybe a drizzle or two on Friday, but that's about it. So we're going to go back to watering my grass again, because otherwise it ain't going to grow.
Speaking of Houston, I sent out an email to you if there was anything going on with WeCat. I wonder if there are any ISPs down in that area that need assistance. Have you heard of anything, Dennis?
So that's actually a really good question. The WeCat board is operating. The problem is, at this point in time, is that there is so much flooding and so much power outages that nobody really knows the extent of the damage yet. So even though our WISP operators are trying to get down there and they're trying to get through their network and they're trying to monitor, etc., the big problem is that at this point in time, we don't have a good idea of what needs to be fixed, if anything. And obviously there's going to be stuff that needs to be fixed, and they're going to need some help, etc. And WeCat did get on the WISPA member list and actually state basically the same thing I'm just going to tell you, is that right now they're holding off because they have not got requests for help yet. Because, again, it's still too early. I mean, it's going to be probably maybe late today, tomorrow, and Friday before the operators actually start going, okay, what do I actually need? And they actually start putting together those lists to know what they need, etc. Link Technologies, you know, we've already offered to donate quite a few antennas to the project and some other stuff. But, again, the problem is we don't know what they need yet. So it's kind of up in the air. And right now, you know, they have, a curfew that they've imposed. And the big problem is until the water recedes, we can't get in there to do anything anyway. So eventually, yeah, I guarantee you that WeCat will probably be down there, and I guarantee you that plenty of WISP operators will be going into the area and helping out. But right now, we just don't know what needs to be done yet and what kind of expertise needs to be there yet. So, it's a process that has to go through, that we have to make sure we know what's going on, what do they need, and then we can organize that as see fit. But right now, there's just nothing. We don't have any information to know what we need yet.
Right. Going back to, we talked a little bit for the show about the board elections for WISP. Can you fill us in a little bit since you're on the board?
Yeah, I mean, we had the board elections that did occur. We ended up, let's see here, we ended up getting, I believe, Jeff Kohler. Yeah, Jeff Kohler was elected to the board. So Alex Phillips, who was the chairman of the board and the original WISPA president last year and the year before, he has dropped off. He's off the board, and his position was filled by Jeff Kohler from JAP. So otherwise, I believe Blair was also up for re-election, and he got re-elected. And Brian Young was also up for re-election as well, and guess what? He got re-elected as well. So, we continue on, keep doing what we've been doing, and that's what happens,
Yeah, sounds like a good crew got elected. Look forward to visiting with them at WISPapalooza.
Yep, yeah, we'll see you guys all there, and there'll be plenty of opportunities to talk to board members, to talk to everybody at WISPapalooza. And like I said, the WISPapalooza event, you can go to their website and look at all that, but they have tons of stuff going on.
Good. Well, let's get into the show. We're really pleased today to have Cambium Networks on our show, and today we have Sakid Ahmed. He's the VP of the ePMP business, and we also have Dmitry Moiseev. He's the chief guru engineer. We got them on the show today to talk about all things ePMP and any other new products that they've got in the pipe to share with us about. So with that, Sakid, you there?
Yes, I am. Steven, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Perfect. So thank you. First and foremost, a big thank you for you guys inviting us onto the show. It's a great opportunity to speak to your audience. This is the first time, I believe, that Cambium Networks is on your show, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully it won't be the last. We have lots of products and lots of things we can talk about, and maybe even some days we can talk about industry trends from our perspective, what we think is happening in the wireless service provider business, whatnot. More from an equipment manufacturer perspective, share our thoughts. But today's session, I'm always look forward to questions. So I know you guys as hosts will bring in questions, and I'll try to answer them as best. So will Dimitri. And then also welcome the audience to ask tough, challenging questions, which we will try our best to answer. And if we can't, we'll definitely come back and post it in some shape or manner. So my desire for joining today and talking about things is kind of give an update on where we have come in terms of this ePMP product line and where we're going. So part of that is going to be talking about some roadmap that's actively being engaged on. I'm not going to commit to dates and things like that. As you can imagine, that those are always tough and sometimes there's movement, but I want to give more of an intention to the things and technology and the direction we're taking with the product line. But before we get started on that front, I'm going to assume that the audience that you have for your show, some people are probably quite familiar with Cambium, some may not be, and some may not be familiar with the ePMP specific product line at all. So maybe a 30-second overview of what the ePMP product line is and what it means to your customer base and potentially future customers for Cambium. So the E in ePMP got lost its meaning a while ago. We had numerous goals on what to call the E, but the thing with the E that stands out the most is that it's meant to be an economical platform. So Cambium, as many know, the heritage of Cambium came from Canopy. Canopy is probably the most well-known brand in the wireless internet business, at least in the United States, if not globally. And our heritage is Canopy, and more importantly, a heritage from Motorola, the big two-way radio business. And we have our product platform that derived from Canopy, which today carries on as a flagship product from Cambium in 450, as well as CN Medusa, which is one of our latest and greatest innovations in this marketplace. But along the way, I would say 3 to 4 years ago, we realized that from a cost perspective, from a price perspective, that there is a huge demand for products at a lower price point for the industry, while keeping some of the core differentiation and feature set available. And that was sort of the main goal of why ePMP came around. And the genesis of ePMP was, could we take some of the goodness, some of the differentiation that we created over the years, and still create a price competitive product line? And I think that's the main challenge that we undertook when we first started development in 2012, I want to say. And that's how ePMP was born. I'm happy to say today that, we, just like every new product, we've had some challenges in the early days, but I'm happy to say that, if I look at North America market or global market, there's a very strong adoption of ePMP as a product. And as a brand, I think people are accepting it that, wait a second, I'm paying maybe a little bit more premium over some other vendors' products, but it's still a very, very affordable product at a $99 CPE cost. And I think that sub $100 CPE price play is still a dominant factor for many businesses, because, we all live in a world where, broadband is a thing that we want, and the prices from cable companies and AT&T is dropping. The truck roll costs, all of that adds up. So as a business, CPE costs are a big play. So that's sort of how ePMP came about. And I think I will say two last pieces on that is that what kept us focused, the two most important things, one was to not to sacrifice quality. And everybody understands this in this business, right? You can build a Cadillac and charge a lot of money around it, and get the best reliable product. But there's a balancing act, and innovation around that, keeping the quality but yet keeping the price competitive is the differentiation. So quality and reliability is a big deal for us in ePMP. And the second thing is, the secret is really software. Hardware on antennas and mechanics, yeah, you see differentiation, you see some unique stuff. But at the end of the day, what you can do with your software, while leveraging, let's just say, mass industry chipset, like Wi-Fi chipsets that are, selling in the billions, thus giving you a cost advantage. What can you do? What can you do to differentiate and give better performance, scalability, and things like that? That's kind of the genesis. So those two key points brought ePMP along. And yes, today we're seeing a lot of success. People are buying, deploying, and whatnot, and there's a lot of stories I can talk about. So that's the story. If any questions or comments from the host, I'll be happy to take that. If not, I'll jump into a little PowerPoint presentation and go through a little bit more.
Yep.
Good to proceed?
Yeah, I would say you need to share out that PowerPoint, though.
Yep. Oh, sorry. As I was talking, right? That might help.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. How's that coming along? Good?
It's coming in.
Uh-oh, confidential. Can we see this?
Yes, you can. I just forgot to say confidential. Remember, I admitted to you guys that this was a last-minute update, so bear with. So, this is sort of a story, and this is for current customers that are thinking about us, or people that have nothing to do with Cambium and may not even buy Cambium. So this is our story on ePMP, how the product came about, what we're doing today, and what we're going to do in the future. So a little refresher. What do we do in ePMP in terms of a value proposition? The first and most important thing is we offer frequency reuse with GPS synchronization. And my guess is, both Stephen and Dennis are very familiar with this stuff, and most of the audience will be. But the idea behind what is, can we do this GPS sync business and be able to offer up frequency reuse across a particular tower or across a wider geographic environment at a reasonable price point? And that's what we did with ePMP. So frequency reuse with GPS sync, a key anchor feature for ePMP. And what that solves essentially is your self-interference problem. And to this day, I still find WISP operators, and more so maybe outside of North America, where interference becomes hey, it's somebody else causing interference for me. It's got nothing to do with my equipment. I'm doing everything right. It's got to be outside. And as part of our let's call our evangelism, as we talk to customers globally or in the US, we always say, it's not just about external interference. You got to solve your internal interference first. Your own network is causing problems. So that's part of our strong message, self-interference. And visually, I don't even remember where I got this picture, but this is a busy picture. And I've seen some towers in other parts of the world that just, my jaw dropped and I couldn't close it for minutes because of the amount of hardware that gets put up on these towers because there's poor RF planning. There's no concept of frequency reuse. It's basically, there's demand, throw up another radio. Oh, wait, there's interference, throw a bigger dish. Okay, jack up the power, even if the FCC says no. So that's the scenario. And visually, I like to say that, hey, if I saw that tower before or that rooftop, with frequency reuse, we're trying to give you a cleaner install. And at the end of the day, a better business model for you as a WISP operator.
So before we continue on, it looks like we're getting some type of graphic artifact in the background. So can you probably discontinue your share and redo your screen share?
Graphic artifact in the
back.
back.
I mean, it's an odd. It looks like there's like
picture.
It looks like there's something in the background that's moving, maybe. If not, it could just be something with Skype, and you probably just need to close it and reopen it.
So I just stopped sharing.
Yep.
Okay. So I will go back and.
As soon as it is confidential, it can be watermarked. So you can't really record this video.
Yeah,
Dimitri, were you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I see the same thing.
Dimitri, can you? Is it the graphics maybe that are coming off kind of poorly?
Yeah, it's like.
Don't have any idea what it is because I've never seen it before. But yeah, there is some kind of artifact.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not able to. Is the text coming along okay?
Yeah,
we can read it. It's just a little bit difficult.
Yeah, but you need to share out the actual presentation, not the presenter view now.
The other thing I could do is instead of slideshow mode, just try this way.
It's the same story. Even your desktop looks.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. Must be a graphics thing or something like that.
Okay.
So I would just go ahead and go full screen again, and we'll just bear with it. It's gonna look kind of funky unless Dimitri has a copy of it, and he wishes to share it out.
Yeah, he should have a copy. Let me just send it over to him. So if you guys give me 1 second.
Yeah, because we want to make sure make sure everything works and such. That's just kind of I've never seen that before, but if that's the worst problem that we're having today, we're doing great.
Exactly.
Right.
So, So
I was just going to throw out there, back in the days of Motorola, they were the Cadillac of equipment, and of course you paid a premium for it, and that's kind of why I shied away from ever using the Motorola equipment. And really appreciate you guys putting together the ePMP because, like you said, it's a more affordable system, and I've got an ePMP test bed set up with both a ePMP client and then an Elevate customer too, and seems to be purring along pretty good with the frequency reuse. And you're right, there is definitely self-interference problems that you induce on yourself, notwithstanding the interference from every Tom, Dick, and Harry as well, and everyone else's 5 gig home access Wi-Fi routers and such. But Cambium has come a long way from the old days of Motorola.
Yep. At any which rate, I just wanted to make sure I pointed out while we're waiting for us to try to get this presentation going again. Link Technologies Incorporated. We are a Cambium distributor. We do sell Cambium gear and the ePMP line. So of course you can go to linktex.net and view all the Cambium products on our website. Definitely not a problem with that. We do service. We do support with lots of Cambium Networks, both the PMP and the ePMP product lines. So really good stuff. I just wanted to make sure I toss that out there while we're waiting for the presentation to get reshared. My assumption is the presentation issue is probably a computer graphics card issue.
Most likely.
Yeah.
So I actually sent up a file
Yeah.
to Dimitri, and while he's loading up, we're just going to try this one more time. I took your advice, and let's just see if this makes a difference.
Nope.
Still the same artifact?
Yeah. I mean, it is a weird artifact. Really weird. I mean, it actually. I see your
It looks
screen.
like QR codes all mashed together.
Interesting.
I'm assuming you
Dimitri,
don't see
you
them.
have the slide deck via Skype. If you can just open and share your desktop, maybe I can just talk through it, see how that works.
Yeah. We'll get it.
Let me open it up.
Mac, and I recently switched away from a Mac to a PC, so I'm going to hear a earful from him later.
I'm going to say congratulations. Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah. You'll need to close your desktop sharing.
It's still downloading. I need a couple of seconds to finish downloading it up.
Okay. As Dimitri loads that up, I'll just kind of speak, because I don't want to keep our audience waiting. But
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, long story short is I talked a little bit about the core positioning of frequency reviews. I'll move ahead on that self-interference, going past that. So from a Cambium or ePMP perspective, focus was self-interference, solving that. And a lot of people asked us right off the bat, I said, guys, what about your AC stuff? When are you going to do 11 AC? And then instead of 11 AC, the Wave 1 stuff, which I'll talk about in a minute, we ended up launching ePMP 2000. And there were definitely some initial questions and curiosities, like, well, what's with this 2000 stuff? But to reemphasize that original messaging is that to us, and I say this with the utmost sincerity, that for so many customer support calls or engagements where people say, well, I'm seeing this performance, what's going on? We more and more, we just find out that interference is like the #1 issue, right? And yes, there's some of us fortunate enough to run networks in rural America where there's not a whole lot of interference. But to us, it looked like instead of going after the next big shiny thing that may not even be applicable to wireless service providers in the outdoor market, let's solve the interference problem. So when you think about 1000, which is our first product, we solved the self-interference issue. 2000 became a story about external interference. And 2000, and this is where there's some artifacts with images and things like that. And Dimitri is actually showing the slide deck, which is great.
Yep, and we got it up.
Can you see it right now?
Yep.
Yeah,
Looks good.
Oh,
so I'll
okay.
go throw this laptop away in the trash and see if I can go back to Mac. So with ePMP 2000, long story short, there's just fundamentally two basic things. One is a beam steering antenna that we added, which is pretty cool given the price point. It's an uplink beamforming function, and along with that, the ePMP 2000 AP itself has some filtering. So when I talked about earlier about those big dishes that are, somebody's putting up with high power or whatnot, the filtering helps block out that adjacent and neighboring channel. So those are the two key story points in terms of how we went from the 1000 to 2000. And then, Dimitri, if you don't move ahead yet on your slide, hold it right there. And then something also is scalability. And this is something we've run into that our customer base has talked about. That, hey, I buy this product before from another vendor. I get to 20, 30 subscribers. I can't seem to get my TCP throughput beyond that. We solved a lot of that. We solved the scalability problems. We solved things like air fairness, where you happen to have a subscriber in low signal condition, and then it drags the whole sector performance down. So we've solved a lot of that. So with that, the value proposition is all there. The next challenge became, okay, people are buying it, they're trying it, makes a lot of sense. But migration of existing subscriber units that you may have from a different vendor, that became the next big challenge. So this is where we introduced the concept of Elevate. And I'll come back and dive a little bit deeper into Elevate because I suspect Elevate is going to be an interesting topic. But Elevate allowed you to put our software on a third-party subscriber and allow the third-party subscriber to connect to an access point. So it's becoming a virtual ePMP subscriber. And we'll come back to Elevate. So let's just proceed, Dimitri, if you don't mind skipping ahead on the slide deck today. Next slide, please. Dimitri, were you able to move to the next slide?
Is Dimitri with us?
Is Dimitri with us is the question. He still is showing available.
I think I.
There it
There we
is.
Right. So this is sort of a big bang moment, but the best way to think about our roadmap is that with 1000 we solved the self-interference problem. With 2000 we went after external interference. So the natural question became, well, you did elevate, great, but what about throughput? How do we solve throughput problems next? Everybody's moving to faster channels, higher modulations. So this is where the slide that you guys see now is the best way to think about that is the family of ePMP 3000. And we've talked about it publicly. There's been some outstanding requests for me to post some more details around it on the forum, and this is the first time you'll see this information. Dimitri, if you don't mind, go ahead to the next slide since you were already on the product slide. Yeah, and click one more time. It'll show the box there you go. Stay on that for a second.
There we go.
Yeah, we're going to get this working. It might take an hour, but we'll be there.
Yeah.
It boils back down to my computer. So, 3000. The concept behind 3000 is that if you think about the .11ac roadmap, between 11N or back when it was ABG, the 11N was a huge, step in the fact that it offered MIMO. So then when AC came out, there were so many things in AC that the IEEE decided that it needed to be a wave 1 and a wave 2 split. There's just too many things to pack into the chipset and everybody catching up. And when wave 1 came out, wave 1 was about 256 QAM modulation and 80 megahertz channel. And we saw that wave 1 was sort of like an interim step. That it was a step for the Netgears and the D-Links of the world to jump on and say, oh, look at us, we got an AC router. But the outdoor market where we play in, that wave 1 stuff didn't make a whole lot of sense. So we waited. And more importantly, for us to do all the things we did with 1000, 2000, we need really, really deep down access to the software and re-architect, re-engineering all the goodness, right? So with 3000, the main thing was we went to a wave 2 solution. And the secret or the big differentiation on wave 2 becomes multi-user MIMO. And beyond the 256 QAM and the channel, multi-user MIMO is our biggest advantage. And with 3000, we end up creating a 3000 access point, which you see on the left-hand side, 4x4 multi-user MIMO. It will still have the beam steering antenna from the 2000, and it will have a new sector antenna. It does and will, well, it does today. We already have boards, but it has some of the highest performing processor chips in the industry and a 1.8 gig dual core, and we'll have the filtering that we have in the 2000. So all that packaged up creates a pretty compelling platform for not only the interference mitigation, but also giving you high throughput. Now, this is not for everybody. When this comes out, I fully see that some people may say, I love my 1000. It's working great. I don't need anything. Some people say, I've got high interference. 2000 is the way to go. But there's going to be some that are going to say, well, I think I'm reaching capacity. That's where you drop in the 3000. And the beauty of the 3000, just like all of our portfolio, is you'll continue to have backwards compatibility. So it will talk to the subscribers that you have today in your deployment.
So,
and I'll yeah, sure.
I have a question for you. Does it have an SFP port?
Yes, it does.
Aha.
Hey, I know somebody that's going to like that.
All right. Glad I got question 1 with a positive answer.
Yeah.
I was getting nervous. I'm like, uh-oh, the first one. I don't say no. So yes, it does. And then with that, there's 2 subscribers in play right now. One is the F300, and then the F300 we are marching towards launching end of this year. Now, The 300 is essentially also a Wave 2 AC product. That's a MU-MIMO client, but it can also be used as I would call it the low-cost point-to-point. It will do 80 megahertz 256 comm. It's got a high-power processor, so packets per second and things like that shouldn't be much of an issue. It's going to have some good, solid software that we had from our ePMP 1000, 2000 for interference resiliency, even in a point-to-point. So that's coming out first. And whatever you use today, you can start off as point-to-point, but eventually a lot of those units will become a subscriber module talking to the ePMP 3000. And then in tradition, continuing the tradition of our Force 180 product, we'll have a Force 220, 16 dBi gain antenna. The only thing that I don't show here in a picture is a product that we just launched in the current family, the Force 190, which we'll talk about at the end. I'm evaluating whether we go ahead and do a Force 190 equivalent. This is where the dish is a collapsible dish concept. And then if we fast forward, and now we're talking distant future, and I'll just throw some years, like 2019, 2020 play. Dimitri, if you don't mind moving ahead on the slide deck.
I think we lost him again.
Yes, I guess today is a day of...
Yep.
Yep.
There he is.
There you go. Thank you. So there's a lot of green stuff here. I got rid of the animation, but columns 1, 2, 3, and 4, stuff we already talked about. So under the coming soon may be a little bit of a premature statement, and this is public information, and I like talking about it because I want to give our customers the confidence that there's a path, that we're looking 2-3 years down the road. Is what happens with the 802.11 standard is it goes beyond 11AC, and the first sets of 11AX products are starting to come out this year and maybe early next year. Now again, these are very much your home routers, not even enterprise Wi-Fi. But with AX, you get 8x8 MU-MIMO. So now you can do MU-MIMO to more 3 to 4 groups or 4 users at the same time. And the thing that seems compelling to me is with AX, you start getting LTE-like functionality. So the whole world of Wi-Fi starts maturing and optimizing for outdoor. And that OFDMA-PHY gets pretty interesting for non-line of sight and subchannelization and things like that. So overall increased spectral efficiency. So our vision is, as we take you to 3000, is that we will move ahead and start doing a 4000 platform. And along the entire way, we keep backwards compatibility front and center. So whatever subscribers you put down for 3000, which will also work with our 2000 and 1000 subscribers, that backwards compatibility will continue working with 4000. And the tradition of solving and keeping focus on interference will be strong and consistent, and we'll just keep leveraging what the industry provides to keep price points low, but then keep putting our secret sauce on top of it. And that's how the 4000 will materialize. So that's kind of, without getting too deep into the technical aspects of each product and our solution, was my attempt at giving an overview of where we are today, where we came from, and where we're going. And that's sort of the roadmap, past, present, future view. With that, we'll probably shift our discussion a little bit and move around a little bit and talk a bit about Elevate and get a little deeper into Elevate. So we'll go past a few of these slides. Bridge in a Box, we'll come back and talk about it. Force 190 will come back as well. Right. And the slide on Elevate, and I should just highlight that the audience will get to see Dimitri in WISP-palooza, but he is sort of the mastermind behind Elevate and making it a reality. With Elevate, the fundamental principle that we spoke about earlier is, as ePMP launched and we started seeing success, we face the same dilemma that many new vendors face, is that there's an incumbent deployment base And even if you're a smaller operator with 300, 400 SMs and you're really trying to go to the next big thing, if you have to swap out your subscribers, that becomes a huge, huge financial burden. So for us, that was one of the things driving the creation of Elevate. And today, the way Elevate works is it's a software package that you download from our support site, support.cambiumnetworks.com. And that software can be installed on as many third-party subscribers you want. And to be very frank and honest, the third-party subscribers today are all Ubiquiti. We are looking at adding future vendors' products, but today it is Ubiquiti, both in 5 gigahertz and 2.4. Approximately 46, 48 models are supported. So you download the software image, and while you are registered and connected to those subscriber modules, you go and push the software image as if you would upgrade to a newer software firmware version. Before you upgrade, Dimitri has a script that is posted on our forum. It's called the Elevator script. And what that script does is it allows you to gather the bits and pieces of information, critical information, SSID, passwords, and IP addresses, although we do maintain the IP address under all circumstances. But any other custom configuration that you had put in, it allows you to suck that out of that unit, write it to flash, and then once you push the new image and that radio reboots and comes back up as a elevated virtual ePMP subscriber, it carries over that configuration and maps it to the corresponding configuration on an ePMP SM. So the idea behind that script is that in combination with the software upgrade, we try to make that migration as smooth as possible. And once
no truck rolls.
Exactly, avoiding that truck roll. Because our first, and that elevator script came a little later as well, and we did encounter some challenges, and the script addresses that in a big way. And once that SM pops back off, it essentially is a virtual ePMP, and it's starting to look for that ePMP access point beacon. And at that point, if you have an ePMP access point already on the tower, it starts associating and registering to that. Voila. You are now running a virtual ePMP network. And the good news is that in that same network, you can have your Ubiquiti subscribers, but you can also install ePMP subscriber modules and run in a hybrid network with no difference in terms of your overall sector performance. The ePMP hardware obviously will have some advantages in terms of shielding, filtering, etc., the mechanics and things like that from a quality perspective, things like power accuracy, transmit receive power. We do a lot of calibration, a lot of tweaking to make sure all that stuff's solid. So there's fundamental differences. And once those elevated subscribers are in, something that hopefully on a future time we can talk about in detail is the CN Maestro end-to-end management platform. So now that CN Maestro management is dealing with both your elevated subscribers as well as ePMP subscribers, and you're able to handle them both. The final but very important aspect of this is that we do still control how many elevated subscribers are allowed to attach to a particular AP using a licensing concept. And I know folks hate the idea of licensing, but we thought long and hard, and there wasn't a whole lot of ways to solve this problem. But it's actually easy. The ePMP access point has a license that you put on it that you get from Cambium once you purchase what we call an entitlement. And you get this key, you put it on the GUI, you say reboot, and that tells the access point that you are allowed to connect 10, 20, 40, 80, 90 of these elevated units. Until just last week, the relationship between the license, it relied on the MAC address of the AP, and it was a hard-coded license. We have a release 3.5, which just came out, but it also has a beta support for a concept around floating license. And what happens in floating license is you no longer need to figure out how many subscribers you will elevate per an AP, but you think of it as a network-wide problem. So you buy entitlement for 50 or 100 licenses, and it's a pool that sits on a cloud server, and every AP has to have NTP and DNS, and there's a URL hard-coded in the software, and now the AP will automatically go and check out licenses and issue them as they need. And it's across your entire network. And there's going to be a NOC version available also for the cloud licensing, but all in all, this is the flexible licensing concept. So you no longer have to plan strict allocation, but rather you allocate across the network, and the units themselves will go and check out the licenses.
So, quick question. If we use the ePMP, do we have unlimited number of those we could put on there? And that this is only for Elevate subscriber modules?
Dennis, that was you, right?
No, Steve.
Steve, sorry, Steve. Steve, few pieces of that cut out. Can you repeat that question for me?
Yeah, so what you were talking about is in regards to Elevate third-party upgrades, if you will, but for actual ePMP radio, how many are we allowed to hook up to a sector?
120.
Okay.
120, exactly.
Yeah, but that doesn't come out of the pool of elevated licenses. Those are just, you get 120 period by buying the AP and buying the ePMP SM versus you elevating your Ubiquity platform.
Correct.
Or whatever platform that you're elevating in that particular instance.
Right.
That's correct. There are two different scenarios, yes, exactly. There is no licensing concept for our subscribers. There is one aspect, which is that if somebody was wanting to just try ePMP for the first time and they're like, I don't want to buy a $500 AP, yeah, I have another option. We sell what we call the light version, where it is locked to 10 subscribers, and that sells for almost 1/3 the price. And then the customer has a choice to open up the limit later on with the license upgrade. But a lot of people that I interact with tend to buy the full AP first. In most cases, they buy the light. It's just for demo purposes and whatnot.
Right.
I did have an original desire that Dimitri could do a live demo of a upgrade too, but maybe we'll save that for another session if folks request that. But I want to highlight once again from the Elevate perspective is that the migration, the most important aspect is the elevator script, using that to make sure your migration data is all there and you move it over. After that, it's simply getting the license from Cambium that allows you to have X number connect, and then it's just download the software and run with it. The flexible thing is under beta right now. If anybody on this call is interested in joining that beta, you are more than welcome to email me at Sakid, Sakid, Ahmed, Ahmed, at CambiumNetworks.com. And then the last piece on that Elevate is that we are doing a promotion today until end of Q3 that allows you to buy a full ePMP 2000 access point, the beam steer, and the sector, and get 30 free Elevate licenses with it. We felt that 30 free Elevate licenses more or less gives you a chance to test out this gear before you fully commit across a tower.
Great.
And then the last two pieces beyond Elevate we can touch on, and then maybe we can open it up for Q&A as well as any questions our hosts have. The product that we just recently launched, and it's starting to show up in your North America distributors, is a new dish product called the Force 190. It is a smaller 22 dBi dish antenna, which Dimitri is showing in his slide deck. It's a 2x2 MIMO, 8-degree beam with, it's a 10/100 Ethernet, which I've seen some people have mixed feelings about, but I continue to hold my ground that I think, bi-directional traffic, if you can still do over 100 meg, that it's not limited to 100 meg. It's $109 MSRP, so a 16 dBi integrated Force 180 sits at, yeah, Dimitri, go ahead and play that video. That kind of puts a good visual on how this thing comes together. The Force 180 sits at $99 list price, 16 dBi gain antenna, and then the Force 200 at 25 dBi with a solid rigid dish sits at $129. So this is in between the two. And your play button doesn't seem to be doing anything. Now it's a Mac issue, Dimitri.
Oh, yeah. There you go. I love it.
It's still your Windows.
It's got my video, right? PC
Yeah.
video. Let me see if I... Actually, yeah, so if the video is obviously available on our website if anybody wants to see that. And I just want to highlight one last product, Dimitri, if you want to just go to the bridge in a box slide. Yeah, so what Dimitri is showing on his slide deck is it's probably not super applicable to our service provider audience, but we are attempting to say, all right, we think there's a need and a market for what I call the DIY market, do it yourself, as well as people in the security business putting up cameras and things like that who may not be super accustomed to RF engineering and their distances are very short, they don't have to do much RF planning. But we introduced this concept of a bridge in a box, which is essentially a wireless bridge. It's a pair of Force 190s that are completely pre-configured to run ACS and connect up out of the box in bridge mode. Obviously, the target for this product is definitely not, RF savvy service providers, but rather your home networking guys that are trying to extend their Wi-Fi out to their tool shed or boat dock or farmhouse, or somebody putting up security cameras and they're wanting to do wireless. It's all the good stuff of ePMP built into it, just configured in a much easier fashion, so you don't have to do much other than just take it out of the box and power it up.
Up to 10 miles. Is this a product out there right now?
Yes, it is.
What's it going for?
Yeah, it's going for $299.
And that's a link?
That's a link. Yeah, it's a pair of radios.
And just so you know, we are showing the Force 190 video online right now, as everybody can see how it's put together and how it's shipped and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh, so this is on...
It's on the video. We're currently playing the video that you guys have of the ePMP Force 190 installation.
Great, thank you, Dennis.
So, because I know you guys wanted to show that, so we are playing it. We turned off the sound.
I see. Appreciate that. So that concludes my presentation. And Dimitri can get way deeper into Elevate questions if that comes up, but we're both open to Q&A at this point. Dennis, Stephen, thank you.
Steve here, I got a question. Looking at that ePMP 3000 with its 4x4, I have the ePMP 2000 with your beamforming dish that sits below it, and then I got my sector above it. Is there a new beamforming smart antenna, you guys call it, I think, that would go with the ePMP 3000? Or can you utilize the existing? Because I know it's 8x8 as opposed to, 4x4 as opposed to just regular MIMO.
No, you can utilize the same beam steering. The sector antenna does have to change because that's where you're getting the 4x4 antenna, but the beam steering antenna you can reuse.
Okay. So it's just a matter of a new sector and the new radio.
That's correct.
Aha, okay.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Well, I'm good with all my questions. I am checking our ispradio.com. If you have any questions, go to ispradio.com. Type those into the chat window. That is where we take those questions. Otherwise, I do not have any questions as of yet.
Probably a question for Dimitri. So I have demoed the ePMP 2000, and I do have a client on the Elevate and a regular ePMP client as well. And it does pretty well in what it offers. My question is about, you're dealing with a bunch of people trying to save money and whatever. And what I did is I set up my ePMP setup, and I utilized heaven forbid I say a Ubiquiti titanium sector.
Mhm.
Is that recommended, or does it really matter, or Dimitri?
Well, we usually recommend our own antennas.
Of course.
Well, there is a reason behind it, because we feel very confident about our own antennas, and we are always putting the right numbers on the datasheet, meaning that if you see the gain, it will not be the maximum gain on one of the 5/8 frequencies out of the whole range. It will be consistent across all the supported frequency range. The VSVR figure will be consistent across the whole range. The gain will be great. And the best thing, as we are pushing the frequency reuse scenario, one of the key elements is good front-to-back ratio. So your antenna will not hear anything from behind.
Okay.
So we know that with the additional RF armor and with the titanium or wherever antennas, third-party antennas, you can get decent front-to-back ratio, but you can get it out of the box without additional RF armor with our own antennas.
Gotcha. So Dennis, I guess I'll be putting in an order.
there is a reason why we are pushing our own antennas. Another cool thing I like about our relatively new sector antenna is so-called null fill. So if you have a high tower and you have some customers just beyond this tower, with most of third-party antennas, especially cheap ones, not the LTE graded antennas, you will not have a good connection if the customer is just below the tower, because the sector antenna is beaming, have relatively narrow beam and a vertical polarization. So what we have with our sector antenna, we have so-called null fill. So if you take a look at the antenna diagram, it fills the area just below the tower, so you can still serve customers that are close to the tower. So
that's right. I remember seeing that at WISP-Palooza last year as one of your benefits is people really close to the tower. I'm glad you brought that up.
So I do have a question, and I know this is going to be a difficult one, but obviously with not Cambium, but Ubiquiti starting to lock their firmwares, you knew this was going to come up, etc. Is that going to be an issue? Do you guys have you been working with Ubiquiti? Have you been working with Microtech I know you said you guys are going to get Microtech on board, but to my knowledge, where are we at with the Microtech conversion of the ePMP Elevate, number one? And number two, long term, what is the issues that you guys are going to face as far as the Ubiquiti product line?
Right. So I'll take that question, Dennis. Thank you. It is a good question, and I'm sure it's on many people's mind. So first and foremost, the whole concept, right? This is not new. If you think about Ubiquiti themselves, there was a point in their, roadmap that they encouraged third-party people having access to their SDK and things like that. So I think when we did Elevate, we really, we were trying to solve a problem in the marketplace, which was making migration easy and cost-effective. So recently we saw that Ubiquiti responded with a 606 software version and started blocking upgrades. Long story short is that I think there's still a way for people to upgrade as a version of that software still allows a downgrade. And that has left an opportunity for customers who want to go down the ePMP path to come along with us and still be able to elevate. So that opportunity is present today. It is not blocked. And, to be fair, Ubiquiti is a great company and has definitely enabled thousands of WISPs around the world to be who they are. And their roadmap is good as well. Obviously, there's things that I hear or see, and I'm not so sure how that all plays out, but, there's a lot of people that have grown with Ubiquiti. So the best way to think about it is we'll continue supporting Elevate. There is a path forward despite any recent attempts. And if things become to a point where nobody is able to elevate and it is what they want, I'm sure we'll commit resources to make sure that that path is there. So I want to convey that sense of confidence. Having said that, with our 3,000 around the corner and whatnot, I also recommend and suggest that, if you are stuck in that conundrum today where you're not upgrading, you're waiting to see what's coming up, it's a very, very small investment to give ePMP a shot. Give this Elevate thing. You don't have to replace CPEs. If you've never tasted us, give it a taste. And we made it very easy. So that opportunity is there today.
So with that, Microtech.
Sure.
Where are we at with that?
Yeah.
Always a good question, right?
It is. So I remember last year at WISPapalooza, I was cornered multiple times about Microtech. We are working on it. That's the best I will tell you right now, and to your audience. I would just wait and see. Hopefully we can do some interesting things and showcase some things in the very near future. But right now we are actively on that job, is the best way to put it.
Is there any expected ETA?
I'm not going to give you an expected ETA just yet. But I would say, and this is the first time I'm saying this, so this is a big deal, but we hope to have something out this year.
Okay. So you guys internally have an ETA date, but you don't want to release that as of yet.
Yeah, I don't want to put Dimitri on the spot here, but he yeah,
Dimitri.
Get a little more data from him before I throw him under the bus.
Well, I'd like to make a comment. Like I've said, I've trialed this product, and I'll tell you what, the customer service that you guys have provided me is just top-notch, high quality. This is something brand new to me. I've never deployed it, and like I said, we've got one Elevate, one regular ePMP, and you guys stepped up to the plate. You helped me out. I mean, you've logged into my stuff and you said, well, this was the only thing we really saw. Other than that, you did it. You put it together right. So that made me feel good. But I just want to share with the audience that these guys with their customer service are outstanding dynamite.
Thank you, Steve. And
it's not a chat box.
Thank you. And I want to reiterate that on any given day, as I sit at my desk or Dimitri's at his desk or three other engineers, nobody is too big or too small for us to engage with, right? So it's not about support, just a support team outsourced somewhere. Every one of us engages with customers every day. We love hearing from you. We love a challenge. So it's in our DNA. We want to help you guys. So you'll see that on the Cambium story. And on the Elevate front, I just wanted to add that, to date, I've got quite a few people doing it, and I think the biggest one, I don't know if he minds me talking about him, but it's in Stillwater, Oklahoma. He's got about 800 subscribers flipped over to Elevate. He's about to go try our the floating license program. I've had another customer that used to have, I want to say 19 APs on a tower, the M5s. He replaced 19 with 6 of our ePMP 2000. 2.4 Elevate is starting to pick up interest. I think on that front, there's been customers. Joint Link is one of the customers who's really enjoying the 2.4 Elevate. He may be on the call or on the show, for all I know. But there's quite a few North America customers moving towards it, and some have actually gone past trials and now are fully deploying across the network.
Right. And one other comment I want to throw out there, and I want to see if you guys will do it. You talked about Dimitri doing a demo of what it takes to do an Elevate.
Yeah.
And I saw I was at the Microtech Mom in Denver, and you guys showed up and showed me how easy it was, and it was easy. You guys are going to be at WISPapalooza for sure. I know that.
Yes.
If you guys could do show how easy it is at your booth, you're probably already going to do that, but I think it would really benefit others to see the ease of doing this, especially with that script where it keeps all the old config and then you can upgrade and then drop the new config on it.
We'll definitely do throughout the day, throughout the sessions, keep doing live. Anybody that comes by, we'll keep doing, maybe we'll put up a sign that says live Elevate demo type thing.
Perfect.
It's a great idea. Thank you for that input.
So I'm just going to read back some of the questions that actually just came in, and I think they kind of answered their own questions. Is the 3000 series going to expand customer capacity and have possibly have AC? Well, I think we answered the AC stuff, but expand customer capacity. Can you?
Absolutely. So the best way to think about the 3000's offering is that we expect to double the sector throughput. So if you have a 20 meg channel and you're getting throughput of X, we expect that to be 2X because of the 4x4 MIMO. And some of our early indications of testing that we've done in our anechoic chambers and whatnot have proven that result. So yes, your customer capacity will increase, and the best way to think about 3000 value is you're doubling your sector capacity / throughput.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but to proper set expectations, you will not double the throughput if you have just the elevated subscribers. You will need the Force 300 or Force 220 subscribers to get this double of throughput.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And will the AC ePMP radios work with the current 1000 SMs, the Force 180 200?
Yes, that is the whole backwards compatibility statement that I made earlier. To delve into it a little bit more is the 1000 series, the AP and the subscriber modules, let's say they speak language X. When we went to 3000 and AC stuff, that language is now language Y. So what we needed to do was come up with something called like a Cambium header that allows us to talk to both language X and language Y at the same time. And that's what we have in our hands and in development as we speak. And that will allow the 3000 to speak to the 180 200, but at the same time speak to the newer stuff. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're running in that mixed mode, those 180 200s will suffer about a 10% degradation because you're trying to talk an old language as well as a new language. Our view is that given that you're not forced to rip and replace everything on day one, that still is a better value proposition.
Gotcha. So the 3000 is 2 times the capacity, but that is dependent on the new SMs being loaded on there. We are still expecting, you're saying 10% loss with the original clients?
Approximately, when you're running in that mixed mode.
Okay.
On
So
the one side, but on the other side we have a really beefy CPU on 3000. So you can expect that it will be better packet per second performance. So the PPS will be higher on the 3000 on the other side. So
Gotcha.
in highest throughput you will probably get some hit because of the backwards compatibility, but on the other side the PPS will be higher, so you will get better throughput on the loaded sector.
Gotcha. And will the Force 300s work with the ePMP 1000 or 2000s?
No, they will not.
There you go. So the APs are backwards compatible, the CPEs are not backwards compatible.
Right.
Or forwards compatible, you're trying to say.
Correct. Forwards.
Whatever. yeah. So awesome. And you're still staying 2x capacity minus 10%. So you're at like 1.9, 1.8% capacity increase by going to the ePMP 3000 line with Force 1000, the 180 or the 200 SMs.
Right. So Dennis, that statement, just to clarify again, as Dimitri had highlighted, is that it's only if you're running a mixed set of subscribers that on the mixed subscriber side, you will see that potential 10% drop. If you're on the 300 and 220 that you add on to the 3000 AP, you won't see that. And
Okay.
what Dimitri was also highlighting is while we are being very open and stating that 10%, the reality is that base station is increasing in performance in many ways, that even that hit we're talking about may be overcome in other ways, such as packets per second and things like that.
Gotcha.
But we'll definitely share actual results out of our field tests and things like that in future sessions and on our forum.
Great. Well, Stephen, I am good. I think we have had an excellent session with Cambium. I am out of questions. I'm checking any other location, but I don't have anything else on our ispradio.com website.
Yeah, it's been a great show. I want to thank Sakid and Dimitri for being on the show and helping get us through the technical difficulty to see the slideshow that you guys had. It was a really good slideshow. You guys answered a lot of questions. I think you've got a really good product. And like I mentioned, your customer service for a small WISP is outstanding. Like I said, I was pleased with the help there. And I look to doing more once I get my engineered Cambium sector up instead of using the titanium.
All right.
But anyways, I look forward to seeing you guys at WISPapalooza and going forward with more Elevate clients. And I appreciate the help you guys have given me.
Great, absolutely. Thank you very much both for hosting us. We enjoyed presenting, and thank you again.
You bet. Well, thank you for being on the show. With that, Dennis, if you could wrap us up, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to ISP Radio. We hope you've gained new insights and additional wisdom in our industry as well as your business. Please remember to visit our show sponsors via the links on ispradio.com. If you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, contact us at sales@ispradio.com. Now go out there and push those packets as fast as you can. Good luck and Godspeed.